you can cut out. Good morning. Some of you rolling in. Glad to have you join us this morning. My name is 𝘾𝙧𝙞𝙪𝙧. I lead Minnesota Crossroads Career Network, and we're really glad to have you join our webinar this morning. We've got 𝘾𝙧𝙞𝙀𝙀 that is going to be talking about networking. That's what you signed up for, and I'm looking forward to all the content we have for you this morning. I hope it's going to be worthwhile and encouraging for you. And then we are going to also talk about everything else that's available for you through Crossroads so that you can take advantage of everything to help your job search go smoothly and as quickly as possible. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. If you're here local in the Twin Cities area, it's cold this morning. It's 8 degrees outside. And so I hope you have a warm cup of coffee or tea or hot chocolate or something. And maybe since you get to watch this at home and just on video, you're snuggled up to something warm. It is chilly. In any case, I'm glad to have you join us, and we're going to have a few things for you this morning. Our main speaker is, as I mentioned, is going to be 𝘾𝙧𝙞𝙀𝙀, and he does such a great job and will help you learn how to network more effectively. And that's really the key in a job search. If you haven't heard, networking is pretty important in a job search, and 𝘾 will talk all about that. Part of our hope also with Crossroads is that along with helping people succeed in their job search, we also talk about bigger issues and point people to the hope and encouragement of Jesus Christ. It should be no surprise that the Bible has a great deal of wisdom for life. There's a perspective in the Bible I think is important to rely on when we're going through difficult times, like a job search. It's also appropriate for the Thanksgiving holiday we just celebrated. It's the idea that of always having an attitude of gratitude, no matter what circumstances we may be going through. In the book of 1 Thessalonians, it says, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." It doesn't say give thanks for all circumstances, but the idea that no matter what circumstances you find yourself in, be deliberate in maintaining a thankful heart and grateful attitude. It's easy for us to focus on things that aren't going the way we want in our lives and take for granted or forget about all the things that are good. If we have a roof over our head, food in the refrigerator, a healthy body, family, friends, resources, and a community we can turn to for support, we have more than a huge chunk of people in the world out there. Having an attitude of gratitude makes us less stressed, happier, more willing to help others, and more likable, and more attractive to potential employers. I encourage you to take the time to sit down and literally list out all the good things in your life. Then acknowledge that all good things come from God and thank Him for it. It makes a big difference when you put things in proper perspective. Let me open us in a word of prayer, and then we'll move on with our presentations this morning. Lord, we're grateful we can come together like this. And Lord, we do want to have a thankful heart. There are so many good things each of us have, even in the most difficult circumstances. And it's easy for us to forget that. We praise you, Lord, because we know all good things come only from you. We thank you for this time this morning. We pray that you use it for your purposes and that our words honor you. In Jesus' name, amen. And so with that, I have a short video here. I want to give you some perspective in terms of your career and what the Bible says about it, or how to think of your career from God's perspective. And hopefully it gives you some insight. You may already understand this for yourself in your own career, but this was really helpful for me. So let me share my screen here, and hopefully we get everything to work properly. It seems like when I've done this before, it doesn't always work as intended.
So to be an employee for Jesus, what does that mean? Well, if I can share what I think it doesn't mean, and this is me in my earlier walk with the Lord. I felt like when I worked at, I worked at Taco Bell, I worked at released doves for funerals. I was a parts runner for an auto mechanic. I had like a dozen jobs, none of them related, none of them really required much skill either, but that's what the employment I had, is I was serving the Lord and yet just getting whatever job I could. But I did feel as an earlier believer, or I should say earlier in ministry, that the time I served in the church, that was ministry, and the time I worked outside of the church, that was like something much less. and that it was like, yeah, this is not really ministry. Well, I'm just doing this so I can do ministry. But something happened. You see, after coming here on staff at the church in 2006, I was on staff and I was paid for a season, but it wasn't really a living wage. It was just like gas money, basically. But I came to a time where I sort of was running out of funds. No, we decided that it would be best for me to just try to find a job, work full time, still be the high school pastor, do everything I could in youth ministry, but just get a full-time job because the church financially couldn't support me. And so I was like, fine. So I got a job, but something really different happened between my previous job and then that job. And it was that I went into this job believing it was ministry. And this totally and radically changed my experience on the job. I went there actually, and I was selling metal cutting equipment and being, helping people figure out what kind of blade they needed to cut such and such material on what kind of saw and things like that, And there I am just taking calls and running orders and packaging and shipping and things like that. And I did it as unto the Lord, and I found myself totally content. And I was content whether I did that for the rest of my life or not, because I did work as a ministry. And that is the lesson that I think God had for me to learn, was that we would actually do our daily labors as unto the Lord. This is like the message of Ecclesiastes. Whatever comes to your hand, do it as unto the Lord. That's the conclusion of the whole matter, Just live unto God. He takes a whole book and writes half the book of it is ignoring God and how despair-filled life is without God. And then the conclusion is just live unto the Lord, live for God. So my early job seemed worth less than the church ministry I did, but I didn't understand that all work can be ministry. And you can think about people who've worked as ministry who had jobs they didn't even like Joseph, taken and put into Potiphar's house as a slave, as a servant. But he did as unto the Lord, and he honored God with the way he served. And because of that, he was raised up and God used it for his glory. But how many Christian employees do a really poor job on the job because they think it's not valuable? And because of that, that's why they're not getting raised up and God's not using them in a greater way in their workplace. But maybe we just do it unto the Lord, man. Just do it fully unto God, whatever it is you're doing. And that's the message from the scripture here, I think. Colossians 3:17 says this, "And whatever you do, in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him." So it's just that principle of whatever I'm doing, I'll do it unto the Lord. Whatever it is, whether it's in church or out of church, in a sense, every Christian's in ministry. And I was in ministry before I was in ministry officially, because I'm a believer and I shine the light of Christ wherever I go, and whatever job I do it unto the Lord. That's ministry. So I could change tires as ministry. I could drive my truck and do my long hauls as ministry, or I could do whatever, you name it, as unto the Lord.
There we go. Hope that was give you some thought. For me, it was I'm self-employed and I've got a terrible boss, and so when I think about doing my work unto the Lord instead, who's the greatest boss, it really gives me a different perspective of how to go about my job and my profession. I hope that was helpful. At this point, I also then want to introduce Skip Nelson. And for those of you that see our webinars regularly, you probably realize that for this first Thursday of the month, Skip and I are switching places. Is that normally he hosts and opens us with the introduction and everything else, and does a tremendous job on it. But today he's doing our main presentation on networking. And Skip went through his own job transition. I'm sure he'll tell you a little bit about it. But in the process, he realized the value of networking and has since become an expert networker for his career as well. And I know he's got a lot to share that's helpful. And what I like about Skip on this is that he learned it through his own experience, and that's what he's relating versus somebody that's just written a book on networking and isn't necessarily as practical as the rest of us sometimes. So Skip, grateful for you and glad to have you join us this morning, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Harry. Good morning, all. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different role this morning. I'm usually hosting, and now you have to listen to me speak. So I'm thrilled to do so. One of my very favorite topics, quite honestly, is networking, and I will share my screen with you. to get going. As we dive in, when I think about networking, it's a very interesting topic, and we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about what is networking, and how do we network, and best ways to network. How does it fit into your career, and how can you use it as a way to get your dream job as quickly as possible? When do you network? And I mean, we'll talk about all elements of it. Lot of interesting topics and angles and things that I didn't really realize. To relate to the video that we just saw, when he was talking about ministry, and well, he had his kind of job as a minister, and then he had his jobs that he earned money, and they were kind of separate. And it was when he kind of decided that even his jobs to earn money, he kind of viewed his ministry, that it really flourished. And I think networking is similar in that regard, is that sometimes we think, okay, I'm going to network, and then I'm going to do this other stuff, and they're kind of separate, and they're really not. We look at the holiday we just had, Thanksgiving. You got together with family and friends, hopefully, and they're people, and you could, that's networking too, right? You're chatting, and you could talk about, hey, job transition, and just kind of what I'm looking for. But that's networking. It doesn't be this formal thing that you just do 9 to 5. We're always networking, whether we choose to or not. And so as we kind of dive in to the subject, I would like to say that what your mom told you as a child, when they said don't talk to strangers, was a lie. Mom was wrong. We do need to talk to strangers, and that's really what networking is all about. One of the things that mom did say, or dad, or how we were raised, and that we learned really before we probably 10 years old, what were the lessons that we learned, right? We learned make friends, play nice, tell the truth, take a bath, and do your homework, right? Well, those lessons served us well growing up, and they will always serve us well, and certainly will serve us well in networking. And we'll talk really about how that all fits together. As we dive in, I have a question for you, in that what profession do you think does the best networking? There may be a humorous element to this, so don't overthink it. What profession does the best networking? 2, 3, 4. Fishermen. Get it? Networking, fishermen. Okay, they're not going to get any better than this. So 2 drink minimum, tip your waitress. That's as good as it good as it gets, people. I can hear the virtual moaning going on right now. So not a comedian. We're here to talk about networking. So let's dive into that. I like to speak about definitions, because a lot of the things that I present on, and I've spoken and trained people all over the country for the last 20 years in a variety of different subjects. And I find that a lot of times there are a lot of things that are difficult to define. There's a lot of gray area, a lot of room for interpretation. So I like to try to define what we can define. So let's try that with networking. If we look in Webster's dictionary, it says that networking is the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts. Makes sense, right? I think that pretty well sums it up, don't you? And now that we've got it defined, let's look at, well, okay, that's fine, but does it really matter in our job search, right? There are a lot of ways we can look for jobs. We can search online. We can apply for jobs online, where we don't even really have to talk to a human being, right? We can just find a job on a job board and send in an application, and done. Just wait for all those people that get our applications to flood our phone and email with offers and screaming for our services. And if you've done that, have you found that? Have they responded screaming for your services when you apply online? I'm guessing not. I've coached hundreds of people in job transition. As Harry mentioned, I went through my own job transition at age 50, which is super fun. I had started my own company out of college and ran it for 30 years. Great experience, built multi-million-dollar companies, and wonderful. I loved it. It was very rewarding, but it just got burned out. I didn't want to do it anymore. So I, by choice, went into job transition. But again, I didn't think it was any big deal. I thought I've done a lot of things, been pretty successful in what I've done professionally. And it's like, people are going to be clamoring for me. I just went by as soon as they hear I'm available, they're going to be pounding my door down with offers. Well, I got news for you. It didn't happen. And then I'm like, well, what's wrong with you people? Why aren't you calling me? I'm really good. What? And you might have thought similar things. It's just like, well, golly, where is everybody? Why aren't you responding to my online applications or whatever? And the reality of it is, from a job transition standpoint, it's all about networking. Now, who is this gentleman with me in the picture? His name is Harvey Mackay. And for those of you that have not heard of Harvey Mackay, he is a world-renowned professional speaker, a New York Times best-selling author by, oh gosh, I think he has 8 New York Times best-selling books. I think his first one was called How to Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. And he's written numerous books. Harvey was a guy, virtually came out of the Depression almost, here in Minneapolis, and sold newspapers on the street corner and literally started with nothing. His family had no money. And he found that he got somehow into the envelope business. And he built a multi-million-dollar envelope company, Mackay Envelopes, that has now merged with another company, and became an author and a speaker. And he's spoken all over the world. One of the most successful business people, speakers. He's in the Professional Speakers Hall of Fame. He's done everything. But when they asked him kind of if you had to narrow it down to one single thing, Harvey, that made the difference for you, what would it be? And he said, and I'm quoting, if I had to name one single characteristic shared by all the truly successful people that I've met over a lifetime, it would be the ability to create and nurture a network of contacts. Create and nurture a network of contacts. Now, there's a lot of things that Harvey's done that a lot of people might not be able to do. But networking and nurturing a network of contacts, any of us can do. And that's something to keep in mind. So let's look at how it affects the job situation. As far as sources for actually landing jobs, 80% of jobs are garnered via networking. Now, interestingly, jobs, as far as how jobs are generated, as far as applicants, if I was trying to hire as a business owner, I hired hundreds of people. Statistically, if I wanted to just get a lot of applicants, I would post my job on a job board. And 80% of applications are generated by job boards. But that's not what we're trying to do here, right? That's not what you want to do. You don't want to just be with the numbers as far as number of applications. You want to actually get hired, because unlike generating applications, job boards are very successful at doing that. But as far as of those people, how many actually land jobs, it's less than 5%. As far as where jobs are landed, 80% is via networking. And so that's where, through that activity, is where statistically you're going to find your job. It's critical in that regard. Now, the thing that I find, and the question that comes up for a lot of people in networking, is I'm not comfortable networking. Now, let me ask you a question here. I'm going to bring up the chat. See, Harry posted, if you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat box. Please do that. I will keep an eye on the chat box best I can. And if I miss something, Harry, please just let me know about a question. I can't always see it when I have my slides up. But see Gwen and Jody joining us. Great to have you with us. But I'm going to ask a question. How many of you listening and watching this morning are comfortable and really enjoy networking? How many love it? Think it's just super fun? I will tell you, and type in if you do think it's just type in super fun or yes, that you love networking. I will tell you before I even see any responses that the vast majority of people that I talk to, Jody says, not a fan. Well, Jody, you are normal. That is by far the most common response I get is, geez, I'm not really comfortable networking. I don't really enjoy doing it. And so that is normal. I love networking, and I'm also a professional speaker when most people prefer death to speaking in public. So, I mean, I'm not normal. And my wife would probably add, there's a variety of reasons I'm not, I'm not very normal. Gwen says that you're in sales for 5 years, so you like it, and that's awesome. If you happen to enjoy networking, that's a bonus. My point being that most people don't. Most people don't like it. Well, how about flossing? How many people enjoy flossing? I don't. Do we do it? We should, right? Maybe I don't do it as often as I should, but I do it. I floss. I don't enjoy doing it, but I do it because I know it will be beneficial to me. How about outsourcing? Could we outsource flossing? Probably not. I mean, I suppose people are looking for work. If you're really, really quite desperate, maybe you could outsource yourself and floss for someone. Probably not a job you'd like, but for the most part, we can't outsource flossing. Well, we can't outsource networking either, right? But we're not here to talk about flossing. We're here to talk about networking, and you can't outsource that either. So the point is that it's something that whether we're comfortable doing it or like doing it, we need to do it if we're going to get a job. And so as we continue to dive in, why is it so darn important from a networking standpoint? We talked about 80% of jobs are found through networking. Well, where do we network? Everywhere. Whether it's at Thanksgiving dinner or church or with family and friends, neighbors, customers, clients, vendors, past and current, all of the above, charitable places you volunteer, professional organizations, the invisible job market, which we're going to talk about. What the heck is that? Because that's something that is critical in the job transition process that a lot of us aren't even aware of. So we'll talk about what is the invisible job market. That's a critical element. All of the above, but think about decisions that you've made. Like, say you want to find a dentist or a restaurant to go to, or a financial advisor. One of the things that I do for a living, or get your car repaired, or anything like that. How would you find suggestions out how to do that? Probably ask, somebody is like, geez, I got to get my car fixed. Where have you gone? Or I need a financial advisor. Who do you work with? Or who have you used? Or whatever it is. A lot of times we ask other people. Well, that's networking, right? That's reaching out to people we know to get information we didn't have. It's networking. A lot of times we do it and we don't even think we do it. And so let's not make it something, this big scary thing that, oh, I don't want to network. It's just, you're probably networking already and you don't even realize it. But just like when we're looking for a restaurant or a dentist or those kind of referrals, people that are looking for work or looking for employees or looking to hire a job, they do the same thing. They reach out to their network a lot of the time. And they say, hey, I'm looking for this. Do you know anybody that would be a fit? This is kind of the person I'm looking for. So that ties into the networking, because the more people you connect with and the more people know that you're looking, maybe somebody that they know is in their network and they turn to them to say, hey, I'm looking for this position. And they say, I just talked to a friend of mine and blah, blah. And that's how they make the connection and connect you with that person. It works, but you just never know. And that's one of the more frustrating things about networking is you never know which connections you got are going to be the ones that are most fruitful. It's kind of like fishing. The more lines you have in the water, the better chance you're actually going to get a bite. And that takes work. Networking is work. You have to get out there. You have to get out of your jammies and your cozy morning this morning sometimes and go out and have coffee with someone, or a virtual meeting can work also. But I'm a little old fashioned that way. I think getting in front of people is best, particularly in networking, because it's a relational deal that you're trying to develop. And is that something that you can do virtually? You can do it. It's certainly better than not. But if you can meet someone, there's a connection there that is just deeper than you can get virtually. Again, virtual is great if that's what works best, or they're only able to meet with you or willing to meet with you that way, fantastic. But if you can meet in person, there is a relationship and a deeper level that can be garnered that way. So we just want to meet as many people as we can and expand the number of people in our network, because the nice thing about it is that it's reciprocal, or should be, right? It's not that you're just necessarily asking for help, but you also have experience that they don't have. You have people in your network what they don't have. And who knows that you might be able to help them too. They might not be looking for a job, but maybe in their business, somebody that might be interested in what their product or service they're selling, or who knows what it might be. But the point is, when you go into a networking meeting or situation, you're not empty-handed. You've got resources and contacts that they don't have that might be super helpful to them. And so keep that in mind, that you are coming to the party with something too. And that helped me a lot when I didn't just think I was just going begging for something. I'm the one looking for the job, and it's just all about me, and I'm just asking for help. I really struggled with that in my job transition overall. I love giving help, but I really struggled asking for it. And it helped me a lot not to look at networking as just asking, begging for help, because it isn't. It is a two-way street. You may be the person most in need today, but don't forget that when you enter that networking meeting, you are bringing something to the party too. And even if they don't necessarily need your contacts today, they might someday. So you are bringing value to that meeting, even if it isn't utilized right away. So what about network size? How many people do you think are in your network? In 2021, Columbia University did a study that found, on average, the number of individuals in any person's network. And so again, I'd like to throw it open. I'm going to open the chat box here so I can see it. And I'm going to ask a question. And please put the number in the chat box. How many people do you think are in an average person's network? Average person, average Joe or Jane on the street. How many people do you think is in an average person's network? Gwen says 500. Jody, Mark says 150. Michelle, 125. Let's get something else in there. Jody's 200. All good numbers, good guesses. I would say for the prize that we're giving away, and I've got actually, where's my sack of money? Oh, I don't have my sack of money. Well, I've got a sack of money. For those of you who heard me speak before, I always have this money, and it's got $1,000 in it. But golly darn it, we're not in person. So unfortunately, the winners aren't going to be able to get that prize. But you would have. Just feel good about the fact that you would have gotten $1,000. Unless you know where I live, and I'm not telling. Gwen and Burkhardt, I'm sorry, guessed around 500, and they're closest. And it will surprise you to know that in the study at Columbia, they found, come on now, 611. On average, the average person, not the superstar networker, not the Harvey McKays, not the whoever's, but the average person has 611 people in their network. And so that's a lot of people. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, there's no way I've got that many people in my network. I'm just, again, I'm not comfortable networking. I don't really like to do that. But I bet if you really think about it, you'll come up with more people than you initially would think. So how do we map kind of who is in our network? Well, think about it. Look at all the different areas of your life. Colleagues, people that you've worked with at work, supervisors, different jobs you've had, alumni from high school, college, graduate school, family, got immediate family, in-laws, extended, former family. Maybe that could be an interesting outreach. Didn't like you when you were married to my wife, don't like you now, whatever. Maybe you don't want to go there. But how about special interest clubs, things that you belong to, sports, investment clubs, reading, wine clubs, bunco, whatever it might be. Strategic people that you're connected to. How about associations that you've been affiliated with? Peer groups, chambers, trade organizations, lead groups, charities, charitable work that you've done, service groups that Rotary, different groups you might have been involved with. Other groups that might be developed by religion or gender or politics or whatever. And again, you have to be a little careful there, but you're meeting people and whatever the reason, even if it's political, your job search isn't political. If you're around people that have similar political beliefs to you, and you reach out and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, you don't want to necessarily continue that political discussion into the job search because they may not share your place. So that's a landmine that you don't want to go. But again, be careful. But there's still people you're meeting. There's still people you can network with. Sports. Do you play sports? How about your kids? All of this stuff can be expanded through your kids. How about your kids' friends, the parents of your kids' friends, the kids' friends through their work and through their alumni and through their associations? And I mean, you can see how it can just kind of mushroom and grow. And so you can get to 611 a lot quicker than you might think. Now, let's look at kind of the job process itself, because there's really 4 stages of job openings. And a lot of this stuff kind of gets missed, I find, and that's why I like to go through it. The first stage of a job opening is where there is no job opening. Sounds a little strange, but it's true. There is no posted job yet, but there are employers just kind of looking, right? Always kind of on the look. As a business owner, I found that frequently, if I waited until, okay, I have this need for a position, it was too late, right? I needed the position, and then finding the person for that position and the right person can take a long period of time. And I didn't have that amount of time. So as a business owner, I got news for you. I was always looking. And I found it was in my best interest. If I found a superstar performer, even if it wasn't in an area that I needed, I just had to find a place to make a place for them, because really good people are good to have on your team, in your company, in your department, whatever. And I found in my career, I was greatly served by always looking. And if I found somebody that was a superstar, I thought was a superstar, hire them and figure it out. But that ain't going to be posted, and you're never going to see that job opening, but it's happening. And we'll talk a little bit about how to tie into that. Second stage is there is a clear need, and the insiders in the company know, but no action is taken. Why? Who knows? Could be budget. Don't have the budget for it right now. Could be don't have the time for it. Oh my gosh, I so need that position, but I just don't have the time to write up a job description and go look. So it's there, but again, it's identified, but it's not formally posted. Third is the job is now open. It's posted, referrals are desired, and applicants are being accepted. That's really the more formal, typical job process. But what do you know about the 4 stages? We had 2 stages that occurred in this job, stages of a job opening, that are stages you wouldn't even know about. right? Because you wouldn't know about it till stage 3, where it's actually open. And actually, I'm wrong here. You wouldn't know about it till stage 4, because stage 4 is where the opening, which was identified in stage 3, is actually advertised. So stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 all happen. Stage 3 is where it's more formally noted that, hey, we need this position, and we're open to referrals, and applications are being accepted, but it's still not posted yet. Maybe they're looking kind of internal and just kind of seeing what's out there, but it's not till stage 4 that it's actually openly advertised. And that stage 4 is where most people find out about the job. And so look at the percentages of job seekers who get jobs as the stages progress. Only 25% in stage 1. And the percentage grows up, obviously, to 100% in stage 4, where most people find out about the job. And you're thinking to yourself, maybe, well, gosh, how the heck do I find out about the first 3 stages if they're not posted? I'm not seeing them on job boards. How do I do that? Well, that is the wonderful world of the hidden job market. And it's something that a lot of people miss in their job search, and it is huge. So what is the hidden job market? Basically, it's jobs that employers don't advertise or publish for the stages that we just reviewed. And again, why? Many reasons. It could be a cost issue. They just don't have the budget to do it right now. Or more frequently, they just don't have the time. They're too busy. It's not that they don't have the need. They desperately need it, but they're so busy they can't get to it. And so there's a desperate need there, but there is no formal job posting. So again, if you're just looking to job boards, you ain't going to see it. They may also have employer referral programs. So they're kind of float it out there. And maybe they say, hey, if you're an employee and you find us somebody that we hire, we'll give you $1,000 or whatever. It's a great way to find. But again, what is that? What are they paying the employee for? Network. They're paying them for their network, right? People that they already know that they can refer to that employer for that position. If you were an employer, would you rather just throw a job posting on a job board and get people willy-nilly coming in, or get a referral from an employee that you already have that knows the company, knows the culture, believes in the company and culture and all that? Who would you rather get the job referral from? I'd certainly rather get it from the employee through a networking connection. And I got news for you, they would too. And so again, for whatever reason, there's any number of reasons why the hidden job market exists and why it doesn't get posted. It can also be that they're just, again, throwing it out there to try to see internally if they can find something. I'm sure those of you that have been in job transition throw that out and do the, you've heard that probably. Well, you get passed over. Well, we went with an internal candidate. It's like, how frustrating is that? And I got news for you also. A lot of times we take things very personally in the job transition process. And if we don't get the job, it's like, oh, it's me. I'm not good enough. My background, I interviewed terribly. It's just me. And it might be, but it also might be that they had an internal candidate already lined up, but legally they had to offer the job and post it, but you didn't have a prayer. It was going to the internal candidate all along. You'll never know that. But I just offer that to keep in mind, it may not be you. Through the hidden job market, there's a lot of things that might be going on that had nothing to do with you. So what kind of mindset do you need to have in the job transition process? And a couple things for you to fill in. And as you're taking vociferous notes with all these pearls of wisdom that I'm offering, you might want to write this down. You may not be taking notes. Hope you are. I always found that helpful. And hopefully there's a few nuggets that'll be worthwhile for you. But from a mindset standpoint, it's all about, guesses? Relationships. It's all about relationships. Networking is about relationships. Landing a job is about relationships. Progressing in your career, if you have a job, is all about relationships. Life is about relationships, right? Making friends is about relationships. Finding a spouse is about relationships. It's all about relationships. And so way beyond networking, a lot of life is about relationships. So it is all about relationships. Embrace the journey. I found in my mindset, there's a lot of parts of job transition that suck. It can be frustrating. It can be depressing. It can take way longer than we think. It doesn't unfold the way we thought, whatever. And I believe me, I get it. I felt it. And again, I've coached hundreds of people. It's a tough process. And so, but you get to choose, kind of like in life, right? We don't get to pick a lot of the things that happen to us in life, but we do get to pick how we respond. And job transition is no different. You can focus on this sucks. Oh, great. Another way I'm just going to get passed over from an internal candidate, and no, another interview. Well, this is going to be awful. I'm going to answer the questions wrong and stumble around, so I'll look like an idiot and blah, blah. I mean, that can be your attitude. And I can news for you. You're going to be in job transition a long time with that attitude, because it'll show. People see it, believe me. And it'll affect your performance in the interview. It'll suck you down. So you can look at it that way. You can choose to, but you can also choose to look at it positively. I found that there were blessings and positive elements to my job transition. One of the biggest ones was the people that I met through networking, through just job transition groups like Grace or whatever. I met some of the most wonderful people, cool, wonderful, giving, friendly people that I never would have met had I not been in job transition. That's out there for you. I had time that I wouldn't have normally had were it not for my job transition. Time to volunteer, time to spend with my kids, time to spend with ailing parents, whatever it might be. That's a blessing too. And so embrace the journey. There are positive things if you look for them, but you get to pick. If you're going to focus on the negative, that's your choice, but you can also choose to focus on the positive. It's not what you know. Now, careful of this one, though, and I'll ask you in your head, how would you answer it? It's not what you know, it's who you know, right? That's how most people would answer that question. And that's true to some extent, but I would kind of add to that caveat. It's not what you know, it's who knows you is really the key, right? You might know a bunch of people, that's great, but if they don't know you or they don't think of you, it doesn't matter as much. And that's not just having a network. You might have a kind of a big dead network. You have a bunch of contacts, but you're not active and you don't engage with them. And so they forget about you. And so you might have names on the board, so to speak, but they really aren't really good contacts because they don't remember you. They don't know you. They're not really good. You haven't met them, whatever. So it's really about who knows you and how does that happen? I found as a business owner, through a big chunk of my career, there was no LinkedIn or whatever, but gosh, LinkedIn's a phenomenal tool. If you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. You need to be on LinkedIn. That's how a lot of people find people, or at least look for people for jobs. Get on LinkedIn. And when I started in my job transition, I had, you know how many contacts I had? 68. That's awful. And I'm a good networker. I just didn't really use LinkedIn. And so I hired a coach, and he said, first thing is you got to get people on your network, and went through that whole thing I showed you earlier. I reached out to every person, high school, college, clubs, Christmas card lists, whatever, anybody I could think of. And I reached out to connect with them on LinkedIn. And I've got well over 3,000 connections now on LinkedIn. And it's powerful because I can help a lot of people. But it's also powerful for the people I've connected with, because now they're connected to me and my network. So it's a win-win. So it's not just about who you know, but it's about who knows you. And that is about engaging, developing a network, be engaged with the network. And LinkedIn helps you do that. Gosh, you know, it's in the day, you'd look for an article and clip it out and send somebody an article to stay in touch, or send them a birthday card or a thank you card or whatever. And and I'm in favor of all that. I still do all that stuff. But with LinkedIn, you can engage and nurture your network really easily. It does it for you because it will give you a heads up when it's their birthday. It will give you a heads up if they get a promotion. It will give you a heads up if they land a new job. And it takes 20 seconds to say, hey, Bill, I see you landed a new job. Congratulations. Let's grab coffee or whatever, or just congratulations. Or I see that you got a promotion. Way to go, or whatever. But it doesn't have to be anything big deal, but it just keeps the connection and an engagement and keeps you on their radar screen. And so it takes nurturing. I didn't get married till I was 50, and I'm learning a lot. My wife would argue that I'm a work in progress, I'm sure. But you know, when you get, I finally got married at 50. I'd wanted to get married, and for whatever reason, just didn't find the right person or whatever. And I finally did. But once you do, whenever that happens in your life, if that's what you desire, do you just like, oh, great, got married, done, and you just, okay, here I am, and you stop working at it? No, that's when the work just begins, and it's wonderful work. I love it, but it takes time and effort to engage with your spouse and to learn and continue to learn about them and have them learn about you and reach out and do things for them and show them that you still appreciate them or whatever. And your network's the same way. You need to be touch and base, but LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to do that pretty easily and quickly. And lastly, trust God, but work as if it's up to you. And that's a big one. Trust God, but work as it's up to you. It isn't that, well, God's in charge, so well, here I'm just going to sit here and wait. You might have heard the joke about the guy who was in a flood and climbed up to the roof, and the water's high and God sends a helicopter, and he says, no, God will take care of me. And then the water's higher and higher, and God sends a rescue boat, and he says, no, God will take care of me. And the higher, and the guy drowns and goes to heaven and goes to God and says, well, what's the deal? I prayed to you and you didn't save me. He said, what do you mean? I sent a helicopter and a boat. What? So the point is, you know, God is there, and we need to trust him. He is in charge. It is his plan, not our plan. It is his time frame, not our time frame. But work as if it's up to you. You can't just sit there and think, well, God will take care of me. It'll happen. No. You need to be engaged. You need to make it happen, but trust him. He has a plan for you. One of the workshops that I teach is on organizing your job search. And I found this was something I was not very good at. But I like this graphic because it really serves us well in job search or in any job or life, whatever we do, because it's really about how do we manage our time in a work week. And the reality of it is, God gives us 168 hours a week in a work week. And how are you going to spend it? Now, in this site, and I would suggest that you lay out a calendar and you block off time for specific elements like networking on your calendar and hold yourself accountable to it. Because I got news for you. If we live to our own devices, whether it's in job search or our jobs, we gravitate and want to do the stuff we enjoy and are good at. And we don't want to do the stuff we don't enjoy and aren't good at. And networking, again, for most people is not something that they enjoy. So they're going to kind of push it off to the side and kind of avoid it. And you can't do that. And so put it on your calendar and make it part of your process, of your work process. And so in this regard, why do you think the red zone, as far as time it is not good time to be spending networking, would be first thing on Monday and last thing on Friday? Any guesses? Well, if you guessed people are coming out of the weekend first thing on Monday and they're scrambling and all that, yep. And if you guessed on Friday afternoon, they're zoned out and thinking about the weekend, yep. All true. Yellow zone to a lesser extent, right? Friday afternoon or Monday afternoon is better than in the morning, but still same problems. And Friday morning is better than the afternoon, but still same problems there. Still probably kind of winding down from the week and focusing on the weekend. Prime time for you, particularly from a networking standpoint, is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, during the regular workday. That's prime time. That's where you want to be hammering the networking and reach out, because that's when you're most likely to reach people. Now, the other thing that I would suggest putting on your calendar is quiet time. And if you're a praying person, prayer time. Even if you're not, just make it quiet time or meditation time. But you need to work at getting yourself in the right frame of mind in job search, certainly. And I'm a glass half full guy. I love networking and all that, but I had times where I felt like I was getting hit by a 2x4 in the job transition process. And I needed to mindfully pray and meditate and just and be mindful of, again, I get to choose what I focus on, but I had to choose to focus on the blessings in my life, my family, my health, As the guy in the video reference, food in or Harry referenced, food in the refrigerator and a roof over my head and friends that love me and whatever. And every day I would focus and make a point to review the things that were blessings in my life. Because if I didn't do that, personally, I would go negative right away. And I'm too old, nobody's going to hire me, nobody values what I do, blah, blah, blah. And it was not helpful. And I joke with people that I coach, people aren't going to hire Eeyore, right? If you go into the, well, hello, you probably aren't going to want to hire me. They ain't hiring that. I got news for you. Again, you get to choose how you come off. And if you focus on the negative, that's going to come off. Focus on the positive. You got a lot to offer, and focus on that, and that will be appealing to people. So the other thing we talk about is you got to do your homework in job transition. And this can be a challenging one, but you need to be accurate and willing to self-evaluate yourself. Run a advantages, disadvantages, positives, negatives, and be honest with yourself. Because we all have them. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and you got to be realistic as to what yours are. I may be passionate and I want to be the linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings. I love football. I'm going to work harder than anybody else, and I'm going to be passionate about it. I got news for it. That's not enough. You can have all the passion in the world. I'm, well into my 50s, and I wasn't good when I was in my 20s. I never got to be above JV in football. So I can work as hard as I want and be as positive as I want, and I'm never going to get a job for the Vikings as a linebacker. And so the point is, you got to be realistic about what are your strengths and weaknesses, what are your skills, and ask friends, ask former people that you worked with, former bosses, whatever. What did you find I was best at? What could I use improvement? And if you know them and have a relationship with them through your networking, they'll be honest with you. They can share. If they don't, they probably won't feel comfortable sharing. And talk about thinking about your situation and what is it that you want. One of the biggest challenges I find with people in job transition is they don't know what they want. That was me. I didn't have targeted companies. I didn't even have targeted industries. I had no idea I knew what I didn't want to do, but I really didn't know what I did want to do. And that is a terrible place to be in job transition. You got to know. And it doesn't have to be like you have it all figured out, but you at least have to have a direction. You have to pick something, pick an industry you might be interested in and go in that direction, network, learn. And either you'll learn more and think, oh, I'm interested, I want to keep going, or like, oh, that's not what I thought, I'm not interested. And then you'll go in a different, that's okay. But you need to narrow down, what do you want? What are your passions? Really, what makes you excited to get out of bed in the morning? And think about that. And you got to do research about companies that you're looking at, and I could tell, even as a small business owner, I'm just some dinky little company and stuff, but I appreciate if people took the time to Google my company and learn a little bit about it. I remembered that. And people remember, if you do your homework and you drop a little nugget about, gee, I see your company was founded in 1974, and it looks like you've really expanded. Initially, you were in this area, now I've expanded in that area. That's fascinating. Whatever. I see that your company has just expanded into Europe or whatever, but just to show that you've done your homework, you've got a few little nuggets of information. People remember stuff like that, but it will also help you to be better aware of the company and what they do. And is that something that is interesting to you? Does that fit with what you're looking for? And so do the research. Based on the research, what might they need help in? What areas might they need help in? And what value do you think you could bring to that based on what you know about the company and about yourself? And then digging into the company, who in the company are the people that you want to be in connection with? Who are the key people? And you can find that stuff out, Google, and just ask the company, call, say, I've got some marketing, who's the head of marketing? I have some information I'd like to send them. Who would I direct that to? Or whatever. A lot of times you can find out who the people, it's not some top secret thing. Find out about who the key people are in the company and reach out to them. And really be clear on what do you bring to the table? What makes you stand out? I mean, a lot of people I find kind of talk about the same things. Resumes are just the same. I worked for this company from this date to this date, and I blah, 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 blah. I mean, okay, but that doesn't, how do you stand out? Really, what makes you stand out from the pack? If you can find what that is and focus on that, throw in a little nugget of something that makes you different, an accomplishment or something. That's something that somebody will remember. We talk about cover letters and resumes and stuff like that, and that's a whole different ballgame. But be ready. There's no magic to it. I struggled with my resume. I hadn't done one in 30 years. I never looked for a job. And I found that there really is no magic. Reach out to people at Grace Crossroads. Reach out to people you know and have them read over your resume and get feedback on it. That was helpful to me, because I found that everybody's got an opinion. I've talked to a guy, an expert, and professionally wrote my resume, and people that I showed it to, oh, you can't do it this way. You got to change this and do that. So I quickly found out there really no magic to it. You need to get input from different people and utilize the input that makes sense to you, and throw the rest away. And then use a resume, and this, if you're getting activity, keep using it. If you're not, tweak it. There's no magic to any of this stuff. You know, do you use cover letters or not? No magic. I like them because, again, I think it's a way to kind of point out differences that you have for that specific position. You know, if the person doesn't read cover letters, they're not going to read it. All right, so what? But just find out what works for you. Okay, let's get into we're doing for time. Harry, how are we doing for time? When am I supposed to? I should have looked at the clock. When am I supposed to?
If you can go to 11 o'clock, you know, I think everybody's got the time this morning. No,
good. That's pretty much my plan.
Another 15 minutes or so, or whatever you need.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Just want to check. Thanks, Harry. So couple more nuggets, and then we'll wrap up, and we'll have some time for questions if you have any. But so what about kind of your 30-second resume in your networking process? You need to have kind of your elevator speech. You bump into somebody either in a formal networking meeting, or you're just at Thanksgiving or whatever. What do you say? And again, don't just wing it. Again, I'm a professional speaker. I'm good on my feet. I interview very well. But am I better if I plan? You're darn right I am. We all are. And so don't just wing it. Plan what you're going to say. Plan for your whether it's at Thanksgiving or in a formal networking meeting. What is your kind of elevator speech? You know, what are your talents? What would you like somebody to know about what you do? But keep it simple. Don't use tag terms that are specific to your industry or whatever. Know your audience. You know, if it's somebody within the industry, fine. But if you're just generally networking, frequently you're going to be networking with people that aren't in your industry at all, and they don't need to be. They may know people in your industry, but you don't want to use terms and stuff that are very unique to that industry, because that won't mean anything to them. And have an objective. And there's some books and resources that'll help you with objectives in that regard. And we'll talk about that. But you need an objective to your process. So strategy, that word, it comes to these words. Again, make your information short and succinct. Don't go on and on and on. Plan, think of it in advance. Remember the results you wish to achieve in it. What are you looking for? I would like connections at this company. I am looking to find a position in this industry, whatever. And be articulate in your message. Again, don't blather on. That's what comes from preparation. I like to talk, and I can get a little too verbose, and that's not good. You want to be very succinct and know exactly what you want. And be quick. People don't have time, and that's the killer. The book that we're going to talk about, the 20-minute networking meeting, they based the book on 20 minutes because the biggest obstacle to networking was time. People don't have 2 hours to talk with you. They got 20 minutes, but be brief. And that takes preparation. Speak with enthusiasm. I'm an enthusiastic person, but again, people aren't going to hire Eeyore. You have to be enthusiastic. If you're not excited about you and what you have to offer, I got news for you. Nobody else is going to be either. You better be. And so, again, that's going to be easier for some people than others. But be as enthusiastic as you can be, and set a goal. You know, how many people do you want to network with a week? How many job applications do you want to find, whatever it is? But set goals and focus on you. That's what this is about. So An example, my name is blank. I'm a human resource professional exploring opportunities at a director level in the oil and gas industry. Specific. I help deliver double-digit decreases in turnover and implement an outsourcing program that cuts costs by more than 17%. Benefit. What are they going to benefit if they refer you, hire you, whatever? I'm interested in staying in this area and I'm willing to travel as needed. My targeted companies are X and X. What thoughts do you have on the best way to learn more about the issues or key people in these organizations? That's it. That's setting the table for a great networking meeting. So if you're calling somebody, again, set the stage, you value their time, set the expectations, trigger reaction, generate activity, close the loop. My name is Mary Smith. I was referred to you by Peter Johnson. I'm currently a buyer at Best Buy. I was interested in exploring category management from a vendor perspective. Peter mentioned that you'd be a great person to contact, so I could find out exactly what role of category manager does before I start exploring opportunities in the field. Would you pass with a meet 20 minutes, ask questions? Really impressed by your background. I'd love to pick your brain. People love to give their opinion. A couple books to look at. Hired. George Murray, local guy, great book. He talks about networking. He's an aggressive networker. But again, define the network. Introvert, extrovert, doesn't matter. Sometimes introverts are the best networkers out there, best salespeople out there. Isn't necessarily comfortable, but they're really good because they listen. Prepare your network, your pipeline, targeted industries, a lot of the stuff we're talking about. Follow up, keep top of mind with them. Create your own personal board of advisors. Get key people in your network and say, hey, I'd like to put together kind of a board to help me in my job transition. I'd be honored if you'd be willing to serve on it. You know, it's an hour, a quarter, or whatever. Time is limited. I'd like to do a virtual meeting, whatever. A lot of people would be honored to ask. What a lot of people refer to as the Bible for networking, the 20-minute networking meeting. If you don't have the book, you need to get it at the library, buy it, whatever. There's different versions. The guts of it are all the same. So that really doesn't really matter. But in this book, it talks about making a great first impression, first 2 to 3 minutes, small talk, build rapport. Then you're giving an overview of your experience. And the bulk of the meeting is based on 5 questions that you develop through the book. And then the ending is 2 minutes for thanks and follow-up. And then you follow up. We talked about in LinkedIn or whatever is nurturing the network. And there's a lot of ways to do that. But you got to network like your life depends on it, because it really does. Whether it's in job search or in your career, it benefits you always. And again, it could benefit your kids, or it could benefit your spouse, or it could benefit a friend of yours because of a contact. It isn't all about you. But if you have a vibrant, ongoing, growing network, it is only positive. Certainly in job transition, it's massively positive. We found that from the statistics, but it's positive in life, because you never know when you or someone you know and love might need benefits, connections from your network. So it is a treasure. And it's something like a marriage or whatever that needs to be nourished and preserved and developed on an ongoing basis. It isn't like you just, okay, I've got a network. I've got 3,000 people in my network. Done. No. I'm never done. I'm always looking to network. I'm always looking to add people on my LinkedIn. I'm always looking to connect people and whatever, because it feels good. So don't hesitate. And find creative ways to keep in touch. LinkedIn's one, or just, again, give them a call, little email, thinking of you. Oh, boy, doesn't this cold weather suck? Whatever. It doesn't take much, just something. Information is really important. So just keep an eye on that. We want to safeguard it, obviously. And, God closes one door, opens another one. Don't focus on just the closed door. So we've gone through a lot of things, a lot of different elements of networking. I've touched on a variety of different areas. And so remember what our moms told us, right? It isn't complicated. Make friends, play nice, tell the truth, take a bath, and do your homework. It applies for us as children. It applies in life, and it certainly applies in networking. So my prayer for you is that some of this information will be of benefit to you and will help you as you nurture your network for job transition and beyond. I'll leave you with one last thing. the difference between a dictator and an entrepreneurial networking events organizer. One capitalizes on socialism and one socializes in capitalism, right? So networking isn't always funny or fun, but hopefully it will be better for you. So I'll open it up if anybody's got a question, and I'm done.
Great presenter, Skip, terrible comedian.
Fair evaluation. I am realistic in my own self-evaluation, and I would not disagree at all. Okay, I got one question here. How do you organize your active connections? Gets a bit overwhelming to keep track. Really good question. And, you know, there's no magic to that. There's a lot of software that's out there as far as managing sales, because really that's kind of what it comes down to in sales. Some you can get some basic ones free online, other ones you have to pay for. It can be challenging in that regard. I would say, and maybe Harry, you've got some suggestions. I will say, I do it automated. You know what? I also do it on note cards. For people that I'm active with, I make notes, and I'm old fashioned that way. I like to have it, but it doesn't. My point is, it doesn't take. I also do it digitally, but it doesn't take that. Just have a system of some sort. Any suggestions, Harry?
Yeah, there's a great tool online called 𝘔𝙬𝙬𝙀.com. And I think there's so much of it you can use for free, and then for a pretty modest fee, you can use all the features. But essentially it's a CRM, a customer relationship management tool specifically designed for job search. So you can keep track of all your applications, who you've talked to, set up alerts for yourself when you want to follow up with people, keep track of all your interviews and everything that's going on in your job search. It's a tremendous tool, and encourage you to check it out. There's some videos, I think, on the site that show you how it works, and then you can try it out for a free trial. And then I think you can have like 60 contacts or something like that for free. And if you want more, there's a modest fee, but check it out. I think it's a tremendous tool to keep on track with everything.
Great suggestion, Harry. Yeah, 𝘔𝙬𝙬𝙀 is great. And again, there are resources out there that are free. It doesn't take much. I guess whether it's, you know, some dumb old system like note cards or something digital, just have a system, whatever it is. It's less important what it is than you have some way of tracking. And because a lot of this stuff when you're networking is following up and just keeping in touch. Just, it doesn't have to be anything major, but just stay on the radar screen, because that's where people are busy. And I find a lot of people think, oh, I didn't hear back, so they hate me and they don't want to help. It's like, no, it's not that. It's just they're probably just busy. They're more than happy to help. They would love to help. And then let me ask, the last thing I'll say in this regard, Harry, is I find a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to bother them. I know they're busy. And I did the same thing. I talked myself out of reaching out to somebody. But let me ask you this. If somebody reached out to you and you were able to help them get a job, would you feel good about that? I would. And so would they. And so don't take that away from them. You know, don't give them the opportunity to help you, because they'll feel really good if they can. And so don't hesitate to reach out, because people want to help.
Yeah, absolutely. People want to help. They don't often know how to help because they're not walking job boards. They don't know what's open. But if you get them thinking about who else do they know that would also be worthwhile for you to talk to, most people can come up with a name or two of people to refer you to, and that's critical. So I've been a recruiter for 36 years, and it's a unique way to get a window into the job market. I see what's going on. I see what employers are doing, how they're hiring people, et cetera, and what's working for people that are looking. And you did an excellent job, Skip, of pointing out that consistently the vast majority of jobs are filled through some form of networking. And that's absolutely true. And they get employers get by far the most applicants through their online applicant system, but that's only about 10 to 12% of the hires they actually make. And everything else comes through employer referrals, or where they're asking others that who do they know of, or they're proactively recruiting online or whatever, but it's some form of reach out or networking that comes about outside of the online application system. And yet job seekers spent the vast majority of their time chasing job postings and those 10% chance of landing a job. And so you really need to readjust where you're spending your time and focus.
Yep, so true, so true. And I hear the same thing. And 80% of jobs are garnered by networking. Your time should be commensurate to that of how you spend it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Harry did put in the URL for 𝘔𝙬𝙘𝙧, which is great. Certainly a great resource. Turn into that. Any final questions? I'm not seeing any coming up from anybody. Now's your chance. Normally we charge a lot of money for this stuff. So if you have a chance to, now's the time.
All right. Well, we'll move on. Skip, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And great presentation somebody put in. I agree. You did a great job as always.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
I want to run through a few things about Crossroads for you to get plugged into and take advantage of. And so I'm going to transition over to that. Let me put up some slides here for you. Skip, if you could take yours down. And let me get mine up here. Boom. Hopefully you can see that. But if this is your first time on one of our events where you haven't been attending one of our previous webinars and you did put in your address in the registration for this morning, that was one of the ways it was required in order to register. We'll be sending you this free gift. It's a great devotional book on called How Long, O Lord, How Long? Written by 𝘾𝙧𝙞𝙀𝙖𝙡, and it's got every aspect of a job search that creates stress in your life. And there's an index in the back. What am I going through right now, and how can I approach this, or how can I pray about this, or how can I think about this? And you can look it up, and it's really tremendous. 𝘾𝙧𝙞𝙀𝙖𝙡, who wrote this, is actually going to be doing a presentation in January, the first Thursday in January for us on our webinar. And so that information will be posted on our website here shortly within the next day or so, and you can register. But I encourage you to come hear him because he does such a great job. But this will be on the way to you in the mail, and it's our free gift. It's in the hopes that it's meaningful for you and helpful in your process. If you haven't been to it otherwise, I think you had to go to our website in order to register for this morning, but encourage you to spend some more time on our website and check out all the resources on there. It lists all our events, different ways you can get plugged in and get help. But we also have a job board, and employers know about Crossroads, appreciate the quality people that attend, and want to help and want to find good people for their organizations. And so we have positions that get posted on there all the time. Obviously, we're not Indeed.com or Monster.com. We don't have that volume of postings, but these are people that these are companies that specifically are asking or putting positions up on our job board because they know of the people that come. So check it out regularly, and hopefully there's opportunities up there that make sense for you and you can pursue it. In most cases, employers will actually post their contact information along with it, so you have somebody to reach out to specifically instead of just applying to a black hole and hoping for the best. And so check that out. On a weekly basis, there's multiple ways you can get plugged in, and encourage you to take advantage of as many of these as you can, because the more activity and ways that you can get keep things moving in your job search, the sooner the job will come. And so Networking with Grace is our networking group where it's all online right now, and they meet every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. So it'll be coming on after this. You do need to pre-register online, but you can find the information there and get plugged in, where you can get contacts from companies you're interested in, ideas, be able to share with others. It's very interactive. It's led by Wes Tang and Wes Roper. We call them Wes 1 and Wes 2. And they do a great job of helping everybody leave with something each week so that it's productive for you. And Skip gets involved most weeks on that as well. And so it's a great way to get help and regular encouragement and ideas for your job search. We have one-on-one coaching. If you want to have somebody look at your resume or help you prepare for an interview or do some mock interview practice or just talk through your situation and get some ideas and insight, you can sign up anytime and as often as you'd like. The form is online to get that. You sign up and one of our volunteers will reach out to you and set up a time for a phone call or a Zoom meeting, and you can talk through anything. You know, I think so many times it works out for people that they sign up and they really just want to process through where things are at in their job search and get some ideas perhaps. But, you know, sometimes family and friends don't really get it. So just to talk through the situation with somebody that really gets it is extremely helpful. So take advantage of that. It's a great way to get individual personalized help. As you may have probably already found that the job search process can be an emotional roller coaster, and sometimes spiritual and prayer support can be extremely helpful. And I'm just so grateful we've got a team of people that love to pray for you. And so there's a prayer request page on our website. You can fill that out. Somebody will be praying for you. If you feel like you need more one-on-one help on a little more ongoing basis because this is really weighing heavy on you and you just want to be able to talk regularly with somebody about the emotional part of this or spiritual part of this, we have a soul care team as well. And you can see the details and sign up for that online. And you can meet with somebody weekly through that process. But the meat and potatoes of what we offer, where you can get the most in-depth help and ongoing help, is through our online classes. We have a small group, 8-week small group class that goes through every aspect of a successful job search strategy, starting with attitude and getting in the right frame of mind so that you present yourself as positively as possible. And we do some assessments and talk continuously about networking and targeting companies. We go through how to create an effective resume and interviewing skills and negotiating and selecting. And there's so much more. And as much as the content is really strong and gives you the confidence that you're doing your job search in the most effective way, I think equally important is just that weekly light accountability and encouragement and moral support and hope that you can get back up to that even keel emotionally and be charged for the next week. I think this is a process that can often beat us up. And so just getting that regular input that puts you back on an even keel, I think can be great help in the process. And then throughout the 8 weeks, we also talk about God's perspective of your job search and your life. And I think it's very helpful from that perspective too. So we have new classes beginning monthly. I believe we've got a class starting next Monday. And so go on the website, you can see all the details and pre-register there. And Rich Braden will be leading that class. He does a tremendous job. He's been leading classes for us for many years now. And I know you'd be encouraged by it, but the content really gives you a great perspective on what you can be doing most effectively. So really want to emphasize this because this is such an important way to really get your job search up to the next level. I think, you know, watching a webinar here and there is terrific. You get some great help, but the regular weekly content and interaction with others and the encouragement, I think, makes such a big difference. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to log in and join our LinkedIn group. If you put MN Crossroads Career Network in the search box, you'll find us and you can request to become a member. It'll get approved. And there's all kinds of great content that gets posted there, including some recruiters that are in our group that post jobs at their companies. And there's ideas and help. And you'll see upcoming events that we have through Crossroads. But equally important is we have well over 2,000 people in the group that all of which have been part of Crossroads in the past, have gone through their own transitions and stay in the group just to be available for people to reach out to as networking contacts. So if you're looking to build your network, particularly at companies you might be interested in, go through in the group and look through the members there and find people that you want to reach out to. They want to help. They've been through it themselves. They get it. And they want to certainly be a resource for you at the companies that they're currently working at. So it's a great way to expand your network quickly and get help specifically at companies that you may be pursuing. So check that out. Join our LinkedIn group. This webinar and all of our previous ones are posted on our YouTube channel. And so you can review this one and see previous content we've had. They get posted each week. This one I'll have it online probably before the end of the day today. And you can get all kinds of additional topics and see our previous speakers as well. So check that out regularly, and you can go back and recheck any webinars that we've done. It's a great way to get a lot of content quickly. You can watch it at 2.5 times speed if you can listen to it that fast, so that you don't have to listen to the whole hour and a half. As an additional resource, Thrivent, which Skip is part of, he's a financial advisor with Thrivent, but they've been a great partner for us for years now, and they've supported Crossroads in many ways, financially and with content and all kinds of things. Skip does 3 webinars a month on financial considerations during your job transition. And there's different aspects of that he discusses in terms of budgeting and market conditions and what to do with your 401k plans or retirement funds or whatever else, and trying to figure out how to manage that most effectively through it. These aren't sales presentations, they're purely content for your benefit, but Skip does a tremendous job. As you see, he's got a little energy when he speaks, so they're not boring, and encourage you to sign up for those and take advantage of those anytime as well. I want to acknowledge just that we have over 40 people that volunteer for Crossroads in one way or another. All of them are volunteers. Nobody's getting paid for anything. They do it because they care about others. They bring expertise and knowledge and a compassionate heart to help you through this as smoothly as possible. And so we couldn't do all the different things we offer without all the people that volunteer. And so I'm grateful for every one of them. And you may connect with some of them as you sign up for different things that we do through Crossroads. And if you're looking for a church on a Sunday morning, if you don't have a church home, I encourage you to check out one of the churches that aligns with Crossroads when we do meet in person. And we hope to do that again here sometime in the next few months. But we have meetings at Woodbury Lutheran, at North Heights Church up in Arden Hills, and Grace Church in Eden Prairie. And you can find services on Sunday morning, either online or in person, and encourage you to check them out and take advantage of that. I mean, having that church community can make such a huge difference in terms of your well-being and spiritual life, obviously, and your getting a sense of community and support. And I encourage you to plug in that way. I hope this has been helpful this morning, that it's been a worthwhile morning for you with good content. I appreciate Skip and the others that help. And if there's any other ways that we can help, please reach out. You can reach me anytime through our website, and hope to see you again. Even more so, I hope you get a new job quickly and you don't need to see us again. But best wishes. Have a great week. Take care.